Hey, what's up, everybody? We will begin shortly. I'm just letting some people join in first before we get started. So just hang tight. We'll get started in just one moment. Mic check, mic check. What's up, everybody? DTP, hello, hello. Welcome in. Welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. We had an awesome week last week. Thursday and Friday absolutely killed it. Looking to continue to kill it this week. We've got some pretty decent setups. We'll be reviewing that in just a moment. I'm just going to give it a second to let some other people join in before we get started. I didn't want last week to end. I really didn't. I was like, I don't care about the weekend. We can just keep on rolling. Market stays open. Let's go. Even with all of this consolidation happening, it was still a really nice week. Some really solid setups. This week should be pretty fun too. Nabil, welcome in. Matt, welcome back. Yeah, I see you guys pressing the like button for me. Thank you. Amar, yeah, let's get it. Welcome in, welcome in. Just going to give it a few more minutes here, and we'll get started. Yeah, sorry I haven't been going live the past couple of weeks. I've had a lot of stuff going on back at the home front. But we are back at it. I was like, you know what? There's no way that I can't go live for tonight. And I think maybe even, probably not this week, but the week after, we might do a couple of live sessions during the week rather than just on Sundays. We'll see what the market conditions are. This week should be a fun week. Juan, welcome in. Math, hello. Heavy Metal Henny, ready for Monday. Yeah, I know. I've always been one of those people that used to hate Mondays, and now I literally can't wait for them. Adrian, welcome in. All right, let's get started here. Hello, everybody. First of all, welcome in. Today I'm going to be breaking down my full trading plan for tomorrow, and then at the end of the session, I'm just going to take some charting requests. Legally, I have to say this, I'm not a financial advisor. This does not serve as financial advice, and all mentions here are just my opinion. That's it. Do with them what you want. But I think I have a pretty accurate opinion, if I must say so myself. All right, we're just going to jump right into it, man. First one on the watch list is NIO. NIO, N-I-O. All right, here's what we have setting up. So recently has bounced off of this blue line here. I'm on the daily chart time frame. This is going to be your 200 EMA. If you ask me, the 200 EMA is like, gosh, it's got to be the most, it's got to be the strongest indicator in the game. I just really like it for analysis purposes. The idea is that if a stock is trading over the 200 EMA, it's in an uptrend, and when it gets too far extended off that EMA, it really likes to pull back, test it as support. So we have that multiple times, a little bit of a breakthrough there, but since reclaiming this 200 EMA on this most recent push, it hasn't pulled back to test it until just now. So this, to me, looks kind of like a massive bull flag here shaping up, and we'll see what happens from this price point. So we could tighten these lines up. These two don't really matter. We could tighten this one up, though, to really connect those points. And if we do that, it's looking like we are at the point where there may be a big breakout coming. All right, so recently bounced off this 200 EMA, has a bull flag on the daily chart, actually reclaimed this 50 EMA, which is that green dotted line there. I'm looking for this uptrend to continue from where it's at. There is actually, you guys might not be able to see it that well, there is actually this slight gap right here that pretty much got filled on this last trading day right here. So I'm not too worried about that gap being present. What I really am interested in, though, is that if we continue up from here, the real test of if this bull flag is going to break out or not is if we get up and over the $47 price point. Because at this time, here's your high, your lower high, and your lower high all being put in. So once this breaks this downtrend and puts in a higher high, we might see this run back up towards the $50 price point or even past it. But we're going to take it one step at a time. So 47 is our level of resistance overhead. We know that, right? Where it's currently trading at now is just under 45. So from 45 up to 47, we're looking at about a 4.5% profit margin right there, which is plenty enough to take a trade on, even if you're just trading the shares and not the options. I'm going to move this to the 5-minute chart time frame. This, to me, looks like an ascending triangle in itself. It's not very pretty. Hold on, I've got a lot of lines here. It's not very pretty, but you get the idea, right? So I wouldn't honestly be surprised to see this gap up tomorrow morning. And if that's the case, whatever the pre-market high winds up being, that's going to become our new trigger level to take this stock long over. And that's going to be the new resistance point, the new recent resistance point. But as it stands right now, I'm just looking for a break of 45 going into tomorrow with a price target of 46 or 47 in mind. And I'm wanting this momentum to continue, and hopefully this volume continues to flow in. All right, so NIO, first one on the watch list, looking for a break of this downtrend here on the daily for this uptrend to continue, a break of 45 and the run to 47. Keep in mind that these trigger levels can be changed by the morning, especially if we get some crazy overnight moves on the market, such as everything gapping up or everything gapping down. So if that happens, make sure that you're adjusting your plan according to the pre-market moves of the market. Okay, don't just go in and say, hey, it's over 45, looks good. Because if it's over 45 but at 47, well then it's no longer moving up, it's trading at resistance and could be coming down. You get the point? Okay, yeah, so NIO, first one on the watch list, bull flag breakout, potentially long over 45. That's the plan. Number 2, drum roll please. AMD. No question about it. There's no reason to take this off the watch list. AMD is long and strong, breaking out, running into new all-time highs. I really hope that some of you took advantage of this massive run-up that it's had recently. From a percentage standpoint, I mean, this stock ran from 90 to 106. Look, 18%, almost 19% move in just the shares alone. All right, pushed up and over the $100 price point, so we'll draw ourselves a trend line right there. In case you don't know, whole numbers tend to act as natural points of support and resistance within the market. So if AMD is to continue this run up that it's on right now, I think that it absolutely needs to hold up at 100. So if it pulls back, that's all right. That would be expected, but I don't want to see this break below 100. On the flip side of that, if it's to continue up, it needs to keep making new all-time highs. So a break of 107 is what we're looking for. I'm not really interested in shorting something like AMD. The volume is here, the momentum is here, it's at all-time highs. Yes, it may be extended, right? If you're looking at something like the RSI, you're like, well, this looks like it's ready to pull back. Sure, but it's also running off of earnings, which is a catalyst and a fundamental factor, meaning that technicals don't really matter, such as the RSI. All right, so we're just going to stick with the trend. Remember, the trend is your friend. AMD looking to take this long over 107. It's just been an absolute monster. If it gets over 107, I would probably have a price target of 110 in mind, just because that's more of a psychological level. It's not necessarily like a whole number or anything. It's just a psychological level where there could be resistance at. But then again, this is just a total guess. So I'll be aiming for my normal 2% profit margin if AMD breaks 107 and moves. Otherwise, has to hold up over 100. We'll keep it in play this week. Keep an eye on this week as well. The next one on the watch list for tomorrow. Oh, by the way, if you're just joining in, welcome in. We're going over my top stock picks for this week, and well, really for tomorrow, but also for this week. And then I'll be taking charting requests at the end. We've already talked about NEO. We just got finished reviewing AMD. We're moving on to number 3 here. This is going to be QCOM. This one is at a very interesting point, so you might have just saw what I had over there on the left side of my screen. This is a gap up from earnings. I always denote my gaps on the daily chart time frame with this gray shaded box. Just helps me to see them easier. So it gapped up, moved up, hit the $152 level of resistance, well, pretty close to it, and then had an inside day following that. So this inside day here is not very surprising. That's something to be expected after a big gap up and run like this. I'm a little upset that I didn't put it on the watch list the day that it had initially gapped up, because that was an awesome move right there. But it's all right. If the momentum is there, the stock still has potential to continue up, and I'll show you why. We're going to back this up on the daily chart time frame. Look at this gap area right here. And then look where this gap area starts, $152. So is it a coincidence that QCOM rejected at 152 right here? No, I don't think so. The levels don't lie. The stocks don't forget points of support and resistance. We're looking for a break of 152 for an entry into this previous gap area right here and the potential fill. Now, since QCOM has already had a massive gap up and then a massive run following that gap up, it may not be ready to break 152 and run yet. It may need 1 or 2 more days of trading sideways to build a base before it decides to enter up into that 152 gap area and continue to push. That's fine. That is perfectly okay. We will stay patient if that's the case and wait for the setup to come to us. Right? So no play on QCOM for me until it breaks over 152. To the flip side of that, if it breaks below 146.5, there's a potential short down into the lower gap. But I'm not really a short bias trader anyways. I'll just wait for this to break 152 if it ever gets there. So set your alerts at 152 and wait for this thing to break over. If it does, we've got a potential gap fill. The next one on the watch list, Mrna. This one has been an awesome stock for us in recent times. I would say probably not so much last week, but the week before, we made some, there were some awesome moves here, $20, $30 moves both ways, up and down. And now Mrna has started to kind of consolidate here at the all-time high. So 362 is going to be your high, but all of these candles for the most part have been closing underneath the $350 hold number, right? And it's been making higher lows all the way up to this price point. So just recently, the last trading session, there was a candle, a daily candle that closed over 350, which puts our resistance then around 360 and 362. We're still about $10 off from the all-time highs at 362, but that doesn't really matter for Mrna because this stock has been known to make $20, $30 moves in one go. So make sure that you have your alerts set at 362. One thing to be mindful of, though, is that this stock has earnings this week. So if you're an options trader, the premiums on the contracts are probably a little, or are going to be a little juiced up. And you should be cautious of the spread. That might be a factor. All right. It also might be a factor kind of determining how this stock is going to move. Oftentimes, we will see run-ups into earnings reports in anticipation of earnings, and then a sell as the report comes out. I feel like that's exactly what happened most recently with Amazon. I feel like that may also be the case here, but there's still breakout potential from where it's currently at because the earnings isn't out until the end of the week. Right, so just be cautious of that, be mindful of that. Mrna, we're watching this over 362 this week. Needs to get up and over 360 though, so have alerts set at both price points. We have a 5-stock watch list for tomorrow, at least from the main chart perspective. The last one's going to be Tesla. Without a doubt, Tesla makes our list here. Awesome run off of the 50 EMA, pushed from 650 all the way up to about 700, got rejected and came back down. So we're going to draw a trend line right here at 700. I've said it once already in this stream. I'll say it again. Whole numbers like to act as natural points of support and resistance. This stock has been rejected at 700 many times in the past month and a half. We are looking for a break of 700 from here and run. Now that earnings is out of the way also, it still is holding up and over the 200 EMA. There's a lot of positive things right now coming out on this stock, so we're looking for this momentum to continue up. It looks even better on the weekly. I've got to show you this. Look at that on the weekly. It almost looks like a massive, kind of like a massive bull pennant pattern here that was shaping up, and I mean it's right there at the breakout point, which means that a break over 700 and hold over 700 might make this a good stock to swing trade. This might be a decent swing trade option. Do what you want. You know, I'm not necessarily a swing trader, but it looks pretty good, especially if it can get over 700 and hold. All right, so that's all we're looking for here on Tesla. I don't really care what it does below, but when it breaks over, I'll be ready to take a trade. So quick review, if you're just joining in, welcome in. I've already talked about my top stock picks for tomorrow. I'll give you a brief overview of them. NIO, AMD, Mrna, Tesla, and QCOM. If you missed them, don't worry. This stream will be up for the next 24 hours, so you can just go back and re-watch it after I end the stream. We're going to talk about some side charts here. While I'm doing that, feel free to post up in the chat section anything that you want me to review. I ask that you just don't call out random stocks because it doesn't do anything for me helping to understand why you want me to review that stock. So try to give me some sort of feedback on it or analysis on it. Maybe a sentence or two explaining why it has potential and like a resistance point or something. Makes for better conversation and helps me understand to see what you're trying to see. All right, side charts. Number one is Netflix. It's a side chart because it's not set up yet. It could be a decent setup for this week, but it's not there yet. So here's what I'm seeing: a potential double bottom here, bottom one, bottom two on the daily chart time frame, forming at the 200 EMA. This is also holding up over the $500 level. So for this double bottom to be valid, it needs to break the 525 neckline and start moving up. So just have alerts set at 525. If that breaks this week, there's a potential trade here. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. It just needs more time. Number two is PLUG. You see the pattern that I have drawn here. This actually looks like a bear pennant, right? With the previous trend being down, and then the pennant formation, it's making higher lows, lower highs, but it's shaping up for something. And earnings is coming up as well. So the resistance, the flat top resistance, is placed here at $28. 1, 2, 3 times in the past 3 days, it's rejected at 28. It just can't get up and over that price point. I want to make sure that we're keeping an eye on this over 28 because just because this looks like a bear pennant shaping up here, it doesn't mean that it has to break down. It could break down, but it doesn't mean that it has to. This could easily break out and reverse and make the move back up to around $30. So I want to keep an eye on PLUG over 28, especially with earnings coming up, just in case we decide, or just in case this stock decides to run into earnings. We'll be ready to catch it. So alert set over $28. The next one, side chart for us, is Apple. So Apple reported earnings and then has yet to do anything. We've had 3 days now of about, it's pretty close to range trading. A lot of consolidation is what this is. Indecision, basically. So 3 days of indecision with support being around 144, resistance being around 147, all-time highs being at 150, and it's just not going anywhere, right? It's still kind of moving sideways. So we saw this happen recently with Nvidia, where Nvidia reported and then moved sideways and then decided to break out and run, right, after the news with the split was mentioned. This is something that I'm kind of seeing, like I'm having flashbacks to that Nvidia run with Apple, where Apple has reported earnings, consolidated for a few days, and just hasn't made a decision on which direction it wants to go from here. I'm not saying that they're going to like announce a split. I mean, they just split, right? I'm not saying that they're going to announce like super crazy bullish news, but 150 is not only the all-time high, it's also a double top resistance here and here, and a psychological level of resistance, right? That's kind of like your whole number. So a break of 147 would mean that we're breaking the range and moving up, and I think if that happens, then a test of 150 is inevitable. And if we get a test of 150, we should really be ready to take this trade moving up and over that price point. So I have 2 alerts set, one at 147 and one at 150. 147 is the reminder that this is breaking the range to the top side. 150 is the reminder that I need to start looking at taking a position here. All right, the next one for my side chart is actually AMC. I don't really trade meme stocks a whole lot, but this one has been, it's been all over everybody's radar for quite some time. So it's still on a downtrend, but it's having a hard time right now trying to break this $40 price point. I think if it breaks 40, there might be a second wave here. Actually, this is the second wave, isn't it? Yeah. There might be a third wave, or whatever wave you want to call it. There might be another run. Okay, we'll just put it that way. Might be another run on AMC if this can get up and over $40. Support's going to be around 32. So as of right now, it actually looks like it's rejecting 40 and might come down a little further. But it's a meme stock. I mean, anything could happen. We could wake up tomorrow and this could be at 68 or 70 or 72. Who knows? So we're just going to be watching it closely for a break of 40. And if that happens, there's a potential trade. The last one I want to keep an eye on is Amazon. What a gap, huh? Massive, massive gap down here. A couple of things to note. Number one, the whole number 3,300 is just below. That's potential support. Okay, if it fails to hold that, the 200 EMA is below, around 32.50 or so. That's also a potential level of support. If it validates one level of support or the other level of support and reverses, then there's a massive gap overhead over 33.70 or so, and plenty of room for this to move back up to the top side. So I'm not saying that this reverses and pushes back into the gap this week, but it is definitely something that I want to keep an eye on just in case it decides to do that. Right, so alerts set over 33.70. You see them, I have them set all the way up here. I'll be definitely looking to take a trade on Amazon if it gets into this gap area and starts to fill it. Okay, so quick recap of the side charts. I'm watching Netflix over 525. That's got that double bottom on the 200 EMA on the daily chart time frame. PLUG, I'm watching that at 28. That just happens to be a flat top level of resistance. Apple, I'm watching this over 147 and over 150. Definitely over 150. Definitely. AMC, watching this one over 40 in case if it decides to get there this week, and then Amazon over 33.70. That's it. That's all that I have for the side charts. I'll do a quick review of the main charts one more time for my my top stock picks: NEO, AMD, Mrna, Tesla, QCOM. If you're joining in late, welcome in. I've already reviewed them, but you can restart this stream after we finish streaming and watch it from the beginning to catch the breakdowns on those. All right, let's get into what you all are mentioning here. So somebody said CAT has a downtrend on the monthly and a gap on the daily. Yeah, so CAT just reported earnings, huh? Oh man, that's barely even a gap. That's tiny right there. You're looking at 208 to like 209 what is that, $1? Percentage wise, that's less than 0.5%. I wouldn't consider that a gap. That's not that big of a deal. So where does it go from here? Well, I don't know. I mean, the gap is there, yes, but it's only $1, so it's not that significant. This looks like a hammer candle though. So a hammer candle is it's a candle that has a long bottom wick. Usually that wick is going to be double the size of the body. So it has a long bottom wick and a short body up top. And essentially what that's saying is that the price of this stock fell, right, and found some level of support, and buyers stepped in at that support level and bought it all the way back up. So this is actually, despite what it looks like, it's actually a bullish reversal candlestick. But it's only confirmed if the next candlestick prints higher and is green. So for CAT, I just don't see anything here. Maybe from a swing trade perspective, this might be a decent place to buy the stock and hold on to it, maybe with a stop at like $200. But from a day trade perspective, I don't see anything here that says high probability to me. Yes, the gap is there. Yes, a gap is something that I look for whenever I'm trying to build watch lists. But the fact that that gap is only 0.5%, it's very limiting on the profit margin, because not only is the top side or the bottom side of the gap a resistance point, but also the top side of the gap is as well. So even if you got an entry right at the gap area, you're looking at 0.5% profit margin, which may be 10% on an options contract, especially on a Monday. Maybe 10%, maybe even 5% ROI. So it's not there for me. I would wait, me personally, if I'm looking to take a day trade on this, I would wait until this downtrend is broken. So it's been making a lower high, all the way down. Needs to get back and up and over 215 and maybe even reclaim that 50 EMA to confirm the bounce off the 200 EMA to signal that this is going to trend back up. Somebody else mentioned SQ had some news since we started the video. I don't see. I'm not going to look up what that news is right now, but we'll go off of the technicals. All right. So the 50 EMA, which is this green dotted line, is a dynamic level of both support and resistance. So you see it here, treated as a support. Once it broke below, treated as resistance, pushed up, treated as resistance, pushed up, treated as support, and then now nearing it as a support again. The $250 whole number should have should have validated as support. That's what happened right here. So old resistance can become new support. So it happened to be resistance, broke over, support, right, pushed up, and then faked out and came right back down. So for SQ to be in play, this absolutely needs to get back over 250 to have my interest. I might even wait for a break of like 255, and then we go from there, because as of right now, it's still on this downtrend. And so the last thing that I want to do is to put this on the watch list and then try to like basically time the reversal. I would rather wait for the reversal to happen first, and then I'll play it on the way up so that I have confirmation, rather than me wasting a spot on the watch list and saying, yeah, it could reverse or it could come down, right? There's nothing high probability about that. So a break of 250 is what I'm looking for. SQ also has earnings this week. So any sort of fundamental news coming out on it right now, like, that's not surprising to me. We'll see if the stock's price is affected by that news in the morning. So it doesn't really matter what the news is, in my opinion. It matters how the stock's price is going to reflect that news. Even something like, it's weird because sometimes like news can sound like bullish news, but then the stock price will fall. So it all depends on how it's digested, how that news is received. We'll take a look at SQ in the morning, and if it's gapped up over 250 and pushing 255, we might put it on the watch list. But yeah, I don't see anything here for me until it gets up closer to 255. Jeremy, we already talked about CAT. Somebody had actually already mentioned that one. So if you missed that breakdown, just rewatch the stream after I finish, and you'll see my analysis on it. SPCE. Yeah, so okay, this one's quite interesting. Big run up, which was great, off of the very, very low support at 14. Massive run. And then the massive fall, the massive retracement. Could you imagine being a buyer at like 50, 52, and then bag holding down? You're down 44% on your position, bag holding this thing, hoping for a reversal. That's terrible. That's why you always cut your losses, and don't hope for the stock to reverse. But you know what? SPC is actually, it's quite volatile like that anyways. So to be totally honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see this run back up to the $60 or $58 price point at some time in the future. I'm not going to try to time like when that will be or if it will even happen, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen once more. So you said it's trading at the 200 EMA for several days. Yes, it is. It is trading at the 200 EMA for several days. This is it so a big downtrend, trying to hold that 200 EMA as a support. It's also holding the $30 hold number as a support as well, with low support being around $28. Earnings is coming up, so I feel like any type of technical analysis that we do on this might just be kind of irrelevant, because the way that this is moving right now, I just wouldn't be surprised to see it continue to move sideways into earnings. I don't have any suggestions here. It's literally within a range. Support being like low support being at 28, resistance being at 34. You see my alert is set at 34. I think that for this to become relevant on any day trading level, it needs to break out of this consolidation. And until it does so, there's nothing high probability about this. It's just basically a guessing game on where it will go from here. So we'll just wait for a break of 34 if you're bullish on it. Otherwise, maybe consider a short position below 28. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this consolidate into the earnings report. All right, I'm gonna move down to PayPal. So what'd you say about PayPal here? Downward trend line on the 5-day, 5-minute, gap on the daily. Yep, but there's nothing here. Yeah, I mean, again, right? There's nothing here really that's saying that this is going to be high probability. So like it's kind of like Amazon, right? Where Amazon is gapped down pretty big, and it's like maybe a good buy because it gapped down so much, but it also could come down further, or it could push up into the gap. And because it could literally go up or down from here, it's not high probability because it's a 50-50 shot on where this goes. Just looking at this chart, this looks weak. I don't see like any kind of major support points until it gets around maybe the 270 level, just in this area in general. And then below that, you know, it has room to come all the way down to 250. That's really what I'm looking for as a major support point on PayPal. So to me, this chart looks weak. Yes, there's a gap overhead, but that's not even relevant to where it's currently trading at, because it would need to push up another 5% or so for this gap to even become playable. So I am going to set an alert at the gap area because I don't have one there yet, but PayPal looks weak to me. This might be a if you're a short bias trader, might be a situation where you just look for a new recent low to be put in and short it and just keep dragging it down. All right, somebody brought up Nvidia. Yeah, good. I'm glad that you brought this up. So you said it's an ascending triangle making higher lows. Okay, I disagree with you there. I see what you're talking about. So I think that you're mentioning this as being an ascending triangle, right? Now, an ascending triangle is a bullish continuation pattern. Bullish continuation pattern, meaning that the previous trend leading up to the ascending triangle needs to be up. It's not, it's down, right? So this is a downtrend leading up to this pattern, which makes this being an ascending triangle invalid. Now, if you look at the whole trend in itself, yes, it is up, but not this recent trend. A good example of a proper ascending triangle on the daily, or maybe even the weekly chart, would be Apple. Right, so you push, the ascending triangle always pushes up first. So it pushes up and then pulls back. It doesn't pull back and then push up. Another example of this would be on Chewy, right? So the push up and then pull back, and then the push up and pull, right? So for us to say that we have an ascending triangle forming right there on Nvidia, I think is incorrect. That being said, your resistance line is proper. And it is making higher lows. I just don't think that the pattern validation is correct. So $200 being overhead is the whole number that it needs to break over for this to even become relevant. So set your alerts at 200 and just wait. Let it decide what it's going to do. This is consolidation. This is chop, because just as much as this could be an ascending triangle, it could also potentially be a bear flag, right? Or maybe a descending bull pennant, or not a descending triangle, a bear pennant. Hold on, let me delete some of these lines. Right, that could easily be a bear pennant as well, where this doesn't make a new high. It actually makes a lower high and then drops from here. So a lot of different things could be going on there. Just wait for a break of 200. If we get it, there's a potential trade. If not, then there's nothing here for us, at least from the long perspective. Let's go over Microsoft. Somebody called this one out. Microsoft. All right. Third touch on the trend line on the daily. Calls if it bounces up and moves up, and puts if it drops below. Yeah. So this one kind of looks somewhat bearish to me. It's another one of those stocks that just hasn't done much since earnings, right? So if you remember the Apple breakdown, how Apple reported, it dropped a little bit, but then has moved sideways since. It's kind of the same deal with Microsoft, where it like dropped a little bit, but then has actually kind of like, well, actually it dropped and then went up, but then has moved sideways, and now it's starting to feel like it's curling over and might come down. So I like the fact that you said if it bounces and moves up, then I'm going to take a long position on it. Yeah, I mean 290 is very clearly the resistance point overhead. So I would wait for a break of 290. Otherwise, for this to come down, I mean, there is a lot of support below. You're looking at 282.5 being the first level of support. Potential break below that, and this could come down to around 275. All right, let's check out INTC. So you have Jamal said it, INTC has a pennant on the daily. You're watching it over 54. Yeah, so this is I agree with you. This is a pennant. It'd be making lower highs and higher lows on the way up. But the thing is, it's not moving up. It actually has a gap overhead from earnings and has come down. So 54, actually, that would work for the move up, but you need to recognize that that is a resistance right there at the bottom side of that gap. So 54.7 is a likely resistance point for you. So if you're taking it long over 54, you're kind of limited there on profit margin, 1.3%, 1.4%. That's not bad. I usually try to aim for like a 2% profit margin at the minimum, but that might work. 1.3, 1.4%. That might be all right. Just be careful because the stock is a pennant, but it's not a bull pennant. It's actually a bear pennant. If you're considering that gap down as part of the formation, that's what you're looking at. So if you're taking it long over 54, just know that you're going against what the overall trend is right now, and there is resistance at the 70 mark, 54.7. Check out Snapchat. Consolidation above 70. Well, it's actually occurring above 72. Consolidation. Looks like a bull flag on the daily. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it is if we're considering this gap area as part of the pull. So this is what they're talking about. This is kind of the overall formation that Snapchat's making right now. It doesn't really matter what it's making. The all-time high is at 79 and the gap area is at 72. So this is very, very easy to analyze because all you have to do is set alerts at both sides and just wait for it to play out. If it fails to hold 72 as support, then you've got a fat gap below to buy puts on this and fill the gap down. Otherwise, if it breaks above 79, well, there is nothing up here that's really stopping this from making the move up. That would be the new highs at that time. So 79 and 72 are where my two alerts are set at on Snapchat. Look for a break to either side to give you direction. Otherwise, there's no play in this area. High probability trades. That's what we're looking for. If we can wait for a stock to get to a point where it needs to make a decision, like this is it, like today's the day. Either this is going to break out or it's going to break down. What's going to happen? That's the time when we want to take trades. Not when it's setting up and we're like, oh, it could come down, but wait a minute, it could validate and come up too. I don't know, right? If you don't know, that's not the time to be taking the trade. It's the time to just let it do its thing. Let it figure out what it wants to do, or set up for a couple of days, and then decide to take a trade on it once it gets closer to that make or break point. You know what I mean? Like, look at all the stocks that I have on my watch list versus some of these that you guys are mentioning. They're not bad mentions, but mine are literally right at the resistance point. Look at NEO, right? We're look at Tesla. Tesla's right at the resistance. Look at Mrna, right at the resistance. These are stocks, QCOM, right at the resistance. These are stocks that are ready to go, or they're ready to fail. And when they go, there's big payoffs that are going to follow through on that because a lot of people are watching these same setups. A lot of people are mentioning this stuff, or other traders are recognizing this stuff, right? And that's what makes your setups worth taking a trade on because they're high probability. It's not something that could happen. It's like it needs to happen or it's going to fail. And if it fails, that's no big deal. It's just a setup that didn't work out. It happens all the time. But when it works out, that's where you make your big money. So these stocks that you're calling out, like they're good to analyze, but they're not good to go over and say like, yeah, there's a trade on this tomorrow. Because I wouldn't trade Snapchat tomorrow. You know what I mean? I would wait for this to get up to 79 or get to 72. I want it right at that level where like I'm saying if it breaks down, bam, I'm shorting it. That's it. There's a big gap here. Or if it gets up here and it goes and it breaks over 79, I'm taking it long. All-time high break, let's go. But the whole time that it's trading here, I don't really care what it does. I'll let it set up for 3 months if I need to. I'll let it set up for a whole year if it needs to. The longer that a stock consolidates for, the bigger that breakout will be, and the more rewarding that breakout will be. So let them set up. Let them set up. Don't waste your money trying to figure out what it's going to do in the meantime. Let's go over to BB. Somebody mentioned BlackBerry tapping the 200 EMA on the daily, and does it have potential to push up? You know, I don't really know where these kind of meme stocks are going to go from here. Sure, it has potential to run again. I think that this might depend on kind of what AMC does. We talked about AMC, having its big run up and then pulling back, and it could be ready for a run again. I would say that the same is true for BlackBerry, right? Big run up, pulling back, and it might be due for a run again. But I don't know. I think we have to wait for confirmation and see where these are going to head from here. For some reason, it's kind of weird that these stocks have all kind of been lumped together. Like AMC is now almost like the ringleader for these growth stocks and these growth names. And somehow all of these stocks that are in different sectors and have nothing to do with each other are moving similarly. It's super weird. Yeah, I mean, I would wait and see, like, can it put in a new high? So this is actually not a bad one to keep an eye on, given where it's at right now, because it is forming a range. So one of the first stages to a trend reversal is consolidation. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, well, downtrend, 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 downtrend. Oh, wait a minute, we've broken the downtrend, right? So we broke this downtrend, but it didn't put in a higher high. So the high was here at $11. We hit 11 and rejected. So now the slope at which we're downtrending has changed. It's no longer looking like that. It's kind of leveling out and basing. And one of the first stages to a trend change is a range or consolidation. So not only did it not make a higher high, but it also didn't make a lower low. It made the same low. So this might be the start to this reversing and pushing back up. So I would set alerts at $11 and wait for a break of 11. EA, somebody brought this up, needs to get to 150 first. Yeah, it does. There's a possible trade probably over 146, given that that's the most recent level of resistance. But the bigger payoff trade would probably be over 150. Let me back this up here. I want to show you this on the, I'm going to go to max available, the weekly chart time frame. So if we move that trend line from 150 all the way over, you see the all-time highs is actually at 151. This is setting up really nicely, and there's a possible trade over 146 up to 150. But if you want to wait on it, right, and wait for that bigger payout trade to come your way, I would maybe look for a break of 150 or even 151 or 152, so you have true confirmation that it's breaking over the all-time highs. Oh, by the way, this is a big cup and handle right here too, into kind of like a bull pennant pattern. Earnings coming up as well. ATVI has earnings also, so that might be what pushes that stock up and over the kind of resistance point that it's been at. You said LCID has a bull flag. All right, I don't see, there's just not enough data here for me to go off of. Remember, I do my analysis on the daily chart time frame. So I don't see any data here to go off of to say that. I mean, that doesn't look like a bull flag to me. Maybe on the 5-minute. Yeah. Okay. I'd actually say that that's more of a bull pennant, right? And if you're looking for a reversal, maybe a break over the 24.2 mark. But yeah, on the daily chart, there's nothing here. There's not enough data here for me to do analysis on. Coin, COIN, consolidating, MACD, Cross and RSI. Okay, so the MACD crossed multiple times. The MACD this is your MACD. The way that it works is that when you get a crossover, you likely have a trend change, but the MACD is just an indicator, and so when it's used by itself, it's not very accurate. You have to use the MACD in conjunction with the RSI for it to be accurate. And I'm not really going to get into how that strategy works right now, but what I'm getting at is the fact that the RSI or the MACD is crossed over here and here. It's not really telling me anything about the price of coin changing or the reversal on coin coming. I see resistance at 250 still. I don't know why I have a line at 240. It's kind of not relevant there. So resistance around 250, support around 220. It's kind of just been basing for quite some time. Remember that you have two different types of support and resistance in the market. You have static resistance, which is a flat line, just a level that stays true as a resistance no matter where the stock price goes. And then you have a dynamic level of resistance, and that's usually going to be your EMAs or a diagonal line that does move with the price of the stock. And right now, this 50 EMA, that green dotted line, that's your dynamic level of resistance that's being validated here, here, and here. So until that 50 EMA is broken over, I don't see any trade on coin, to the top side at least. And that would also coincidentally kind of coincide with a break of 250. So keep your alerts set at 250 and then just wait on this thing to move up. If it does break 250, it can get really, really interesting. I think it would definitely have room to run to about 285 to test that 200 EMA from the bottom side. But yeah, no trade while it's in that zone and chopping around right now. All right. Thank you all for your time. I'm actually going to call the session here. I have went over my main chart watch list and my side chart watch list. So if you missed that, just restart this stream over. As soon as I end it, it'll be available for the next 24 hours. If you're not part of the Discord server, there's a link in the description. You can join the Discord server and come trade with us. We will be trading live on Tuesday and Thursday this week. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to making some more money with everybody. Go enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.